Hello all. In our previous video we have seen how to register a user and how to store that data inside the database, and I have stored 3 data inside the database, that is nothing but Khanam, and group is flowers, and one more user Sanya. Okay, now in this we are going to see using that data whatever I have stored inside the database. Okay, using this data how to log in here, and whatever credentials I am having inside the database, using that I have to log in here. Once I log in, that particular user dashboard should be open. Okay, now we are going to write the code for this login. Now here inside index.php we have already created the form. Okay, we have already created this login form, and inside this form, here inside this action, I am just going to write here actions folder, and inside actions folder I am just going to write here login.php. Whenever I click on submit button, I should be redirected to this particular path. And here I am just going to write the method I'll just write here post. Okay, using post method I am just going to access all the data. I'll just do Control B. Now inside actions folder I am just going to create login.php. Inside index.php we are having this login button, and for this button we have given the type as submit. Whenever I click on this login, I should be redirected to this particular path, and inside this part we are going to write the code for that one. Okay, now here I'll just come to login.php. Now first I'm just going to write here PHP syntax, and inside this first I have to include connect.php. Only then I will be able to connect to the database. So here I'm just going to write include, and inside this I'm just going to write here connect.php. Okay, inside that we have already written the code to connect to the database, and inside register.php also we have included this one. Okay, connect.php. Now inside login we are having 4 fields: username, mobile, password, and this standard. Okay, whatever group or voter I am having 4 fields, so I have to access whatever values I am having here. I have to access that particular fields. Only then I will be able to log in to that one. I'll just come here. I'm just going to create the variable username, and using this post method I'm just going to access that one, and whatever value I have given inside the name attribute I'm just passing that one. Okay, the same thing I'm just passing here. Let me just show you. Inside index.php, whatever value I have given for this name attribute I'm just passing that one, and whatever value I'm getting here I'm just storing inside this variable. Okay, this value is nothing but whatever I enter here. Okay, whatever I enter here, this value I'm accessing, I'm storing inside this variable. Okay, then I am having mobile. Let me just write here mobile variable, and inside this using post method I'm just going to access mobile. Then I am having password, and then finally I am having that standard. Here I'll be writing password, and here also I'm just going to write password. Here I'll just create variable std, and inside this I'm just going to pass std, which is holding our select options. Okay, we are having group and voter. Using that I can just access that value. Let it be group or voter, any one I can just access, and that data will be matched from the database. Now once I get all this value, now I am going to write SQL query. I'll just write here SQL, and inside this I'm just going to write here select star from. Okay, I want to select all the data from my table name. Okay, my table name is this one, user data. I'll just copy this one, and here I'm just going to paste that one. Select star from user data, and here I'm just going to pass one condition where my username, okay, this whatever username I am writing here, that should be matching with the column name. Okay, whatever I have given here username, that should be exactly with this one, is equal to this particular username. Okay, whatever I have entered, and this value will be stored inside this variable. So I'm just going to paste that one here. I'll just write here, then I'm just going to write here and then I'll just want to access the password. Okay, next I'm having mobile, so let me just access mobile, and inside this I'm just going to write this mobile variable. I'll copy this one, and here I'm going to paste. Then again I just want to access the password. Okay, I just want to check for the password, so here I'll be writing password. Then inside the single quotes, this variable I'm just going to pass. Then finally I'm having this standard, so again I'm just writing here and inside this I'm just going to write here standard. I'll just copy this variable, and here I'm just going to paste. Okay, this is how we are going to write the query. I'm just going to check the condition. Whatever I have entered here, whatever values I'm going to enter here, that should be matching with this particular fields. Okay, whatever values I'm having inside the database, that should be matching. Okay, all the username, mobile, password, and this standard. If all the 4 values are getting matched, only then I am going to execute the query. Okay, using this and means we are having this and operator, which means that all the values should be matched. Okay, if any one is failed, then it is not going to select any data. Okay, so I have just written this query, select star from user data, that is my table name, where I have given this condition. Okay, this is the column name, whatever I am having inside the database. This is the column name, this is the column name, and this is also the column name, and these are the values I am getting from here. Okay, from input fields, whatever value I am getting here, I am just checking that one. Now once I get this one, I have to execute this query. So here I am just going to create one variable result. Now inside this I am just going to write MySQL query, and this is going to take two parameters. First is our connection variable. Okay, we are able to use connection variable because we have already included this connect.php file. Okay, next is our query variable. I'm just going to copy, and here I'm just going to paste. Okay, this is nothing but it is just execute our query. Okay, now here below this I'm just going to check the condition. Okay, we are having one method, MySQL num rows. Okay, this method is going to check the number of rows present inside the database. Okay, now entire data I have executed here, and I am storing inside this variable. So here I am just going to copy, and here I'll just check the condition if my number of rows, if it is greater than 0. Okay, which means that after writing this query, I am executing this data here. Okay, once all the data is getting matched, and once I get this field, okay, which means that my number of rows will be greater than 0. If it is less than 0, this data is not present inside the database. If it is greater than 0, only then this data is present inside the database. Else, inside this else I'm just going to write echo, and here I'm just going to print data is not present. So here I'll just write here echo, and inside this I'm just going to write the script tag. I'll just close the script tag here. Okay, which means that the data is not present. So here inside this alert I'm just going to write invalid credentials. Invalid credentials. Okay, only so much I'm just going to write. I'll just close this one. Okay, this is how we are going to write, and also I'm just going to give the location. Okay, window.location, and I should be redirected to the same login page, that is nothing but my home page. I'll just write that one here. And also I'm just going to write here double quotes because I have already used single quotes, so I'm getting that error. Okay, now here let me just explain you again. If my number of rows is greater than 0, which means that this particular data, whatever I have inserted in the input fields, that is present inside the database. So once it is present, once it is greater than 0, that means the data is there, and only then I will be able to log in. Okay, if this is less than 0, which means that I will come to else part. Okay, invalid credential, it is going to display me invalid credentials because using this query it has not found any data. So I will be getting invalid credentials, and I will not be able to log in. I will be redirected to index.php file, that is nothing but home page. Okay, this I am selecting only the users. Okay, whatever user I am entering, only user I am selecting, and here I am just checking the condition. And inside the database I have stored the data of group as well. So here inside this if, once I am getting the user details, then I should display the group details as well. So for that I am just going to write the query. I'll just write here SQL. Okay, here I am just going to write the query select. I want to select username, I want to select photo, I want to select votes. Okay, how many votes that particular group has got, and also I just want to select the ID, okay, of that particular table from my table name. I'll just copy this one. I'll copy this, and here I'm just going to paste that one. Okay, I'm just selecting all these values, and also here I'm just going to give the condition where my standard is equal to group. Okay, only then I have to fetch this group data, or else I should not fetch voter data. I should select group data. So here I am just giving the condition where my standard is equal to group. Okay, inside this database, here I am having this standard. Wherever I am having this group, only that particular username, that particular photo, mobile number, password I am just accessing. Okay, whatever I have given here, mobile number, photo, votes and ID, from that particular table, and wherever my standard is equal to group, only that data I am accessing, and using this query I am just going to execute that one. Then below this I have to execute this query. So here I will be writing one variable result group, and inside this I am just going to write that one MySQL query. MySQL query, it will take two parameters, connection variable and our query variable, SQL. Okay, both I have passed. First I am just accessing all the users. Okay, using whatever credentials I have done, I am just accessing that one. I am checking the condition, and if my credentials are matching and if my row is greater than 0, I am selecting username, photo, votes and ID from the table where my standard is equal to group. Only wherever I am having standard is equal to group, only that particular group I am accessing. Here I am just executing the query. Once I execute this one, again I have to check the condition, how I have checked for this one. Now here I am just going to write if MySQLi num, let me just copy this one, and here I am going to paste if MySQLi num rows, and inside this, instead of this one, I have to pass this one. Okay, if I am having any groups present inside the database, if my result group, if it is greater than 0, which means that I am having some group inside the database. Now here I am just going to come. Once I get groups, okay, maybe I am having 2 groups or 3 groups or 4 groups, I should fetch all the groups. So for that, first I am just going to create one variable. Let me just write here groups, and inside this I am just going to write here MySQLi fetch all. Okay, using this I am just going to fetch all the groups present inside the database. Suppose I am having 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. Okay, I am just going to fetch all the groups inside the database, and using that I have to display all the groups. So I am just going to write here MySQLi fetch all, and this is going to fetch all the groups, and my groups are stored here. Okay, my query is executed and my groups will be stored here. I'll just come here. Then next I am just going to write one parameter, that is nothing but MySQLi assoc. Okay, whatever data I am having, I am just going to combine that one, and this array is going to generate me an object. Okay, how many groups I am having, I am just going to join that one. Okay, so we have to write this MySQLi assoc. Okay, once the user is able to successfully log in, all the credentials, if it is getting matched, the user will be redirected to dashboard.php, and inside dashboard.php, user profile will be displayed and group profiles will be displayed. Okay, now to access that, whatever values I am having inside that one, okay, whichever user has logged in and what particular groups I am having inside the database, now that values I have to access inside dashboard.php. So for that, we are just going to use sessions now. Here I am just going to write here session. And inside this, I am just going to create session variable. Let me just write here groups. Okay, this is my session variable groups, and inside this, I am just going to pass this variable. I'll just copy this one, and here I am just going to paste. What I have done is I have fetched all the groups from the database. Okay, using this result group, I have fetched all the data from the database wherever I am having standard is equal to group. Once I am done with that, I am just creating this session groups, and inside that, whatever value I got from here, I am storing inside this variable. Inside this session variable, I am just passing that variable here, because whenever I use this session variable inside another file, I can use this values whatever I am having inside that one without including that particular file. Okay, this is how sessions are very useful. Whenever you are getting login through any social media app, your details will be stored. Once you log out, only then your session will be destroyed. Until then, you will be logged into that particular site. Okay, so we are using this sessions here. I have just created session variable groups, and inside that I am just storing all the values whatever I got from here. Okay, now below this, here I have fetched all the data of the groups. I have to fetch all the data of users now. Here I'll just create one variable data, and inside this I'm just going to write MySQLi. Okay, I have to fetch only single users. So here I'm just going to write MySQLi fetch array. Using this method, I can just access the users, single users. Based on my requirement, I can access particular user. Okay, all the users of whatever query I have written here, I have executed here, I have stored inside this variable. I'm just going to copy that, and here I'm just going to paste. Okay, using this, I'm just going to fetch that particular record. Whatever I have inserted here, okay, that particular user record I'm just accessing. Then below this, I'm just going to create some more session variables so that I can access that inside dashboard.php. Okay, now here I'm just going to write here session. And inside this, first I'm just creating session variable ID. Okay, now inside this variable, this particular user data will be stored. So here I'm just going to write data, and from here I just want to access that ID. Okay, whatever ID that user is having, I'm just accessing that one. I'm storing inside this session variable ID. Then below this, I'm just going to create another variable that is nothing but status, because whenever user is voting for that particular group, the status should be updated. So here I'm just creating session variable status, because inside dashboard.php I have to display that one. If the status is 0, the user has not voted. If the status is 1, the user has voted. So here I have to create session for status as well. And inside this I just have to access the status. Now this whatever I am giving here, those are the column names present inside my database table name. So you can see this is the status. Then finally I just have to access this entire data. I'll just copy this one. I'll just paste that one here. Here directly I'm just going to pass this data. Okay, all the data will be stored inside this session variable called data. Okay, now once we are done with all these things, now once all the users, all the credentials are getting matched, I should be redirected to dashboard.php. Okay, now here I'm just going to write this echo. I'll just copy this one, and here I'm going to paste, and inside this, let me just remove this, and instead of this I'm just going to write this location, and here I'm just going to pass this partials folder. Inside partials folder I'm just going to create dashboard.php. Dashboard.php, I'll just do Control B. Now inside this partials folder I'm just going to create that one, dashboard.php. I'll come here, I'll save this. Now inside dashboard.php, let me just write one h1. I'll just write here welcome. Okay, just to check whether my user is getting redirected to dashboard.php or not. I'll just come here, I'll refresh this one. Now I'm going to log in using Khanam. I'll just copy this, and here I'm going to paste mobile number, password is 123, and selector voter, login. Okay, you can see I'm redirected to dashboard.php, and here I'm having welcome. Okay, which means that the user is able to successfully log in. All the credentials are getting matched. Now suppose if I just give another name here, Khanam12. Okay, this user is not present. Let me just give the same mobile number, password, voter, login. You can see I'm getting this invalid credentials because Khanam12 is not present inside the database. Okay, this is how we are going to log in, and we will be redirected to dashboard.php. Now let me just explain you again whatever I have done here. Now I have just created login.php inside actions folder, and inside index.php, here I am having this form, and inside this form, inside this action attribute, I have just given the path. Okay, wherever I am having this login.php, I have just given that file path. And also I have given here method is equal to post, and here inside this form I am not going to use enc type because you can see I am not including any images, only text data I am just going to check. So for that I am not going to use enc type. Now inside login.php, first I have to include connect.php file, then I have to access all these values. Okay, whatever values I just want to check, I am just accessing all these values. I am storing inside this separate variables. Then I'm just writing this query, select star from my table name by where my username, okay, whatever value I'm having inside this column, okay, inside this column whatever values I'm having here which is equal to this particular value, whatever I have entered inside the input fields, using this one I have accessed that one, I have stored inside this variable. Okay, if it is equal, and then I'm checking for the mobile, and then for password, and then for standard. If all these four values are getting matched, only then user should be able to log in. And once I have done writing this query, I'm just going to execute this one. Using MySQL query, I'm just going to write this one. Okay, and this is going to take two parameters, connection variable and SQL variable. Then below that I'm just going to check if number of rows, if it is greater than 0, which means that that particular data and that particular user is present inside the database. Once the user is present inside the database, I'm just writing another query to select the group. Okay, wherever I am having standard is equal to group, I'm just fetching username, photo, votes and ID of that particular row. Then after writing the query, I'm just going to execute this one. Then below that I'm just checking the condition. If my number of rows is greater than 0, then how many groups I'm having. Okay, suppose 2, 3, 4. All the groups I have to fetch using this MySQL fetch all. And I'm just writing here MySQL assoc because I'm just going to join all the groups. Then using this session variable, okay, whatever value I am having here, I'm just going to assign that one to session variables. Okay, session variables are very useful. Okay, once we use this session variable, we have to start the session variable here. I'm just going to write here session. I'll just write here session start. We have to start the session here. Then below that, I'm just fetching all the data of the user. Inside result, I have already executed this one, okay, MySQL query, and I'm just creating session variable ID, status and data, and inside that I'm accessing all these values. I'm storing inside this session variables. Once the user is able to successfully log in, I should be redirected to dashboard.php. Dashboard.php we are going to see later. Then if the user, okay, if the credentials are not getting matched, if my number of rows, if it is less than 0, then I should be getting invalid credentials, which means that that particular user is not present inside the database. Let me just come here. I'll refresh this one. Now let me log in using group. I'll just write here flowers, copy, paste, mobile number, password 123, group, login. You can see here I am having welcome and I am redirected to dashboard.php. Okay, now next we are just going to style this one. So for that, let me just log in here. Okay, this is the demo project. Login. Okay, now this is the dashboard page we have to design. Here we have to get the users and whatever groups we are having, we should be getting here. Okay, on left side we should be getting all the group details, and here we should be getting user details, and also the status we have to get whether the user is voted or not. And also we will be working on back button. Whenever I click on back, I should be redirected to home page. Whenever I click on logout, I should be destroying the session variables. Now when I click on back, you can see I'm redirected to login page. Okay, this is how we are going to work now. We are going to work on all the dashboard, back button and logout page. Okay, that's all for today's tutorial. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.